Hey, Inspired Tribe. Welcome to the Inspired live stream here on the Inspired channel. I'm Jean Nolan, Kristin Nolan. We are the founders of the Inspired Tribe and the Inspired channel. And someone reminded me recently in a very beautiful comment to introduce ourselves at the beginning of our live streams. And I keep forgetting about it because I know, the tribe is growing and all, but I just have such a strong connection to you guys that I feel like we know each other. So I forget about that sometimes. So for those of you who are new, I'm Jean Nolan, my wife, Kristin Nolan. We are the founders of the Inspired channel. We're so excited that you're here, tribe. It is Thursday, May 20th, 2021, WON, and we're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free, we're excited to be here together. This is the mantra of the Inspired live stream. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. And we gather 3 times a week on these live streams to talk about important topics for us, for you, for all of us, for the planet, expansion, mind expansion, heart expansion, spiritual expansion. And it has to be a practical spirituality. That's really what it is always about for us. And so we want to welcome everyone who's here. It's really easy to join the Inspired Tribe. You just show up. That's all you got to do. There's no membership form. There's no membership fee. There's no cancellation button either. You're just a part of the tribe. You're always going to be part of the tribe. And these wonderful people that are here that show up, some of them to every live stream. It's been what, 165 live streams now? And some of you have shown up most of the time, all the time, have been here for, 20, 30. Some of you have been here for 120, 30, 40 live streams. That's pretty amazing. So we want to thank you all. And, people ask us, well, how do you, what do you talk about and why do you talk about these things? Part of how we get to that point is what we're going to talk about today. And it's really inspiration. We seek the place to get into the spirit. And the spirit is, there's always an energy on the planet. There's always something that is important. And, when we pick up on the energy of our tribe, then we can feel what's going on. And we just allow for the information to flow through or the wisdom to flow through. And it's going to be part of today's discussion. So that said, hello everyone. Let me welcome you in the live chat here. Black Sky's here, Angie's here, Sean is here, Sabrina is here. Welcome everyone. If you feel like it, please do introduce yourself please introduce yourself in the live chat, where you're from. Maybe give your name if you have a different screen name here, and connect with each other. That's part of the whole conversation. The whole reason why we started this is to create a beautiful community that can interact and talk to each other and connect. So let's dive into today's topic, which, the title was something nobody wants to talk about. And we're, we're all so intertwined. We're also in this world that there is, especially today, May 20th, 2021, I can guarantee you there was never a time in recent history that we have had an information flow quite like today. I remember even at the beginning of social media, that's even before, Facebook, there was places like MySpace and stuff like that. Kind of the first real platforms. I remember if you would post something, if you would put something out there, that'd be something for weeks, And then in the age of Facebook, it started coming down to days, well, that's a post, and that post has an impact for 5-6 days in the beginning. Now, it's turned down to 1 day, it's turned down to minutes, it's hours and minutes now that we have such a flow of information. There's no problem with not having enough information. And before we dive into the essence of today's live stream, let me ask you all, what does information mean? Information. We have to look at this. We're so eager to get information, but what does it really mean? So information really is something that, allows a larger group of people to take on the same form, to have the same set of knowledge or same set of facts, if you will. And it's often not facts, just presented as such. And so we believe there's so much of that. There's so much information, and the accuracy and all of that, that's even besides the point. It's just who wants you to look at the world in a certain way, and then there is so much knowledge out there too. And knowledge is, something very, very useful in our world. If you know how to repair something, if you know how to fix something, if you know how to build a website, or if you know how to build a network for a company, if you can provide a solution for someone's current challenge, that's valuable knowledge. And that is, valuable in the moment, but fleeting over the course of time. Because look, if you think about just the profession of a mechanic, a mechanic has to have knowledge about cars and now electronics and all of that. But 150 years ago, there were no cars. And way less than 150 years from now, there will be no cars. It will be something else. So can we then say that information and knowledge, are relevant to this moment in time or a short period of time? And we have so much of that. But what's missing in this equation, and what is completely left out, because most of the people that want to give you information and knowledge don't want you to have the foundational part, the real part, the part that won't go away in 100 years or 150 years, the part that's been here for so much longer than that, the part that is not current, but it's eternal, and that is wisdom. And the reason why so many of the information givers and knowledge givers don't want you to have wisdom is because that's real discernment. Principles, wisdom is what allows you to see through all the bullshit, what allows you to see through the lies and deception and come back to the eternal principles. And this has been something Kristin and I have studied, because this is it feels so true, it feels so real, so authentic to get to the wisdom. A wisdom that was applicable for people who had lived 1,000 years ago in a completely different environment. But the same wisdom was applicable to them as it is to us now. And that's what we desire to bring back to the forefront. Real, authentic principles. Something that we can all build a foundation on, and that we know is lasting because it's been here for so long. And to a certain extent, that's what religions, when they're at their purest, try to do. But then it is so mixed with so many other interests that oftentimes it gets lost, or it gets completely diluted, so it isn't really what it is anymore. And I was always intrigued years and years and years ago. It started coming up, and people would send me back, when you remember those chain link emails, when someone would have a really cool, nice email and they would send it to everyone, and then they would forward it to everyone, and then they would forward it to everyone. And so I remember years and years ago, I would get these beautiful commandments that weren't necessarily from Scripture. They weren't from the Christian Bible or the Bible. The Bible. But part of it, of course, was represented in most of the religions or spiritual practices. But these, I'd love to go over these with you guys. These 10, and the title for this is the 10 Native American Commandments. Although, we could talk about that term too, but really it's about the essence, the foundation, something that has been true for such a long period of time and that will continue to be true. And what really matters most is if we build our lives on this, if we really live this, because it's eternal essence, because it's eternal truth, how good can this get on this planet? How good can things become? How good can our lives become? And I'm not talking about the cookie cutter TV ad good, where does every room in your house need a TV? Is that how good it can get? Do you need 7 cars? Is it really about gathering stuff? Is it really about getting more and more and more? Is there a bigger essence in all of this? And how can we create a life? And how can we change our ways of living on this planet that will benefit us and the next and the next and the next and the next generations when we look at our children and grandchildren and grand-grandchildren. And so I want to go through these with you and kind of give you a little bit of, my, how I view this and how we live this. And so the number one is treat the earth and all that dwell thereon with respect. And this is, for me, it's so beautiful because it's everything. Actually, everything's already in that first commandment. Treat the earth and all that dwell thereon with respect. What is all? All is everything. All is not just what we consider living beings. It's also the ground, the dirt, the trees. It's the air. It's the waters. It's everything. Where did we come up with the idea that we can distinguish what deserves our respect and what doesn't? And what have these people known for such a long time that is so eternal and principled about this? Treat the earth and all that dwell thereon with respect. I honestly encourage you, and I've been doing this for such a long time, to meditate on each of these points. You can find the 10 Native American commandments everywhere. It's easy to find, and really meditate and walk with that, what it really means. Number two is remain close to the Great Spirit. And I mean, you could just read through them and just say, okay, yeah, sounds nice, really good ideas, wonderful, I'm going to do this. You can study these for a lifetime. Remain close to the Great Spirit. What does that mean? We call it God, or source, or universe. All that is, I am. You can have all kinds of names for it, but what is the Great Spirit? It's the eternal all-knowing. How do we remain close? How do we remain? How do we feel? How do we get connection? How do we receive? Actually, all these other commandments point us towards that particular point. How do we remain close? By feeling our true, authentic self, our purity of who we really are, and by allowing that to be the main thing in our lives. And we have a very specific purpose as humans on this planet. We have different purposes as individuals, but as a human family on this planet, we're custodians here. We're not just here to have a good old time. We're also here to treat this with the necessary respect so the next and the next generation, will thrive as well. Remain close to the Great Spirit. What a beautiful, wonderful, important thing. Number three, show great respect for your fellow beings. And it's interesting because I just listened to earlier today to an interview of a Native American elder, of an Indian elder, and so beautifully said, in our Western culture, we view beings, our fellow beings, as humans. And then there's a few animals that we view that way. But then beneath that, we look at everything, the Western culture now looks at everything as resources. Fish is a resource, and water is a resource, and wood is a resource. But they look at it as fellow beings, as relatives. Every living being, and this whole planet is a living being, is a relative. How do you treat relatives? With respect. And we need to begin to really embody that. Stop for a minute. If you look at, show great respect for your fellow beings. Just the other day, I was invited by a group of friends that I meet with every week to chop some firewood for one of these friends, for the winter season. It's going to come in a few months. There's still summer to come, but next winter's going to come. And so we were chopping firewood, and there were these big blocks, and it's like 7, 8 guys there, big blocks, like big, huge chunks of wood that it requires a lot of, strength and endurance to get through them and to do the necessary work and chop them into pieces. And, on and off, I've been doing this for a long time, because we used to live in a log house where this was our source of heating in the winter, was firewood. That's all we had. We had a beautiful tiled wooden stove. And when you use machines, which means when there's no human effort or very little, and you use machines, then you tend to think, I'm going to get as much as I possibly can, and I'm going to store it there, so I'm going to have it. So I'm going to take way more than I need right now. So I'll have it, and it'll be there, and I'll be safe, and I'll be secure. And I'll remove way more from nature than I actually need. But when you work with your human hands, when you use your own human muscles, when you put in the work, you just take as much as you need. And you take it, you don't really take it, you receive it. There's an exchange of energies going on because you put in the work. You actually do it with gratitude. And then when you make those wood piles, and when you stack that, and when you take care of that, and when you then use it and put it in the stove or for whatever you use it, or bonfires, there's respect for every piece of wood in your hands. There's respect for that. And that's a whole different approach. Our approach today is to look at the world around us as a resource. How much can we get? How can we use it? How can we make as much money as possible off it, or get as safe as we can in our scarcity fear thinking? And so this, to me, show great respect for your fellow beings. Such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And our fellow beings are the trees and the chipmunks and the grass and the leaves and the flowers and the butterflies and everything between heaven and earth. Number 4, work together for the benefit of all humankind. And I feel like nothing represents this better than the Inspired Tribe. In all talents and capacities that are present, we work together for the benefit of all humankind. And I think we're coming closer and closer to speaking with one tongue and thinking with one mind. Doesn't mean we're all the same. It just means that we begin to agree on certain principles, on foundations. And we come from a heart space together, work for the benefit of all humankind. That's been the intention from the get-go for the Inspired Tribe. That's always what this was about. And if your life's work, in whatever way, shape, or form you do it, doesn't contribute to that vision, maybe it's even opposed to that vision. Maybe it's time to rethink that. Maybe it's time to reevaluate. If you're doing something that isn't just not benefiting all of humankind, maybe even harming it, it's not so much about judgment. It's about realizing that and asking yourself, what would I rather do? How would I rather apply myself to this beautiful vision of benefiting all of humankind? Wonderful, beautiful principle. Number 5, give assistance and kindness wherever needed. Now, we like to help as humans, don't we? But sometimes we also think, I can't just help everyone, and I can't just jump into the fire for everyone. And I think that's not what this is about. This is about following that nudge, that hunch, when you can help someone, you can give kindness. And what is kindness? Have you ever walked through a grocery store, or gone to the county clerk's office, or to the bank, or any other, worldly thing that you needed to take care of, and just given a heartfelt smile to someone who you could feel in an instant was having a bad day or a sad day, or especially at the bank, you see that sometimes, right? And so you give that smile, and you lighten up someone's day. You change maybe the trajectory of their day. That is kindness too. That is assistance too. That is beauty too. And so give assistance and kindness wherever needed. If we all would, do that more often, everyone would be helped that needed help. And it starts with a smile, with a hand. Actually, I want to share a beautiful little story with you from last year when our daughter and her friends went on a little beach trip, and on their way back, a bunch of kids that had a lot of fun and a flat tire, and no one knew how to really change a flat tire. Well, that's on me. I thought there's guys in the car, they know how to do it. Didn't teach my daughter how to do it. So they were in the middle of nowhere in Alabama with a flat tire, bad reception. So a guy stopped, a guy in a truck stopped and asked them if they needed help. And he began helping them. He helped them take off that tire, drive to the nearest town with them, get it fixed, put it back on. He took 2 hours out of his day just to help these kids in the middle of nowhere. Nothing to gain for him other than the feeling of having helped someone who needed help. There was no money involved. He wouldn't even let them buy him lunch or something. It was just out of the kindness of his heart. That is such a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful story that we love to tell because it's so representative of the true human spirit. Give kindness and assistance wherever it's needed, which also means whenever you can. There's really nothing to lose when you do that. When you give kindness, assistance, nothing to lose. But there's a spiritual connection to be gained and someone is helped. What a beautiful thing. Number 6, do what you know to be right. And this is probably part of, you can call this whatever you want to be. You can call this authenticity. You can call this connection. You can call this principles. Everything points to the same wisdom here. As I want to say 95% of the time, almost instantaneously in any situation, what the right thing to do is. And beyond the shadow of a doubt, that's the right course of action. That's the right course of action. Then, then the human mind kicks in and says, well, will that bring me the greatest benefit? Will I get the most money out of this if I do it? Will it be, uncomfortable for me to do it? All these things then come into play. But we all know we have that inside of us. We know what is right. We know what is right. And doing the right thing, it feels tremendously amazing. Because we're then living up to our real nature. And because our human mind is so entangled in this world out there that it's so disconnected from real life. It's our world is a world of commerce. Everything really revolves around the bottom line. But what is right, the right thing to do, so often doesn't benefit the bottom line. But the bottom line is not a natural law. It's not a universal law. It's just a human made-up system. How to make the most money, how to get the biggest profit. We made this up. Nature doesn't work that way. Nature nurtures each other. A tree is not just a tree. A tree is a whole micro-universe for a plethora of beings that we don't even see. It starts with microbes and ends with the birds and the chipmunks and the squirrels and snakes and all the other, and bugs and butterflies and every other being that lives in the tree. It's a microcosm. And so if we do what we know to be right, all we need to do is look at nature. Nature always does what is right. It's entirely, universally, eternally positive in its expression. So there's so much for us to learn from that. Number 7, look after the well-being of mind and body. And again, here, I want to just come back to that other thing. How much time do we spend as humans taking care of the well-being of the bottom line? And here, I'll give you a perfect example. Most people I know that have a functioning vehicle and that take basic care of that vehicle, make sure they change their oil, their oil, make sure that it's good oil, make sure that they put good fluids, they want to put the good gas in, and they wouldn't dream of putting bad quality, dirty gas, dirty oil into their bodies, into their cars. But they do it every day with their bodies. They're not in the same lunch break that they try to save on food as much as possible and go for the $3.50 McDonald's meal. They drive up to the oil change place and spend $60 on the better oil. Because the well-being of their car, for some reason, appears to be more important than the well-being of their body and mind. It's the same thing with what we put into our minds. And this is not, it's not about calling out. It's not about, putting ourselves down, judging ourselves. We've been just programmed to think this way. But real well-being of your body and mind is like, it's like that other Number 6, do what you know to be right. It's the same with your body. Put what you know is good for you. Put that in. Put in your mind what you know is good. Really take care of it. This is our temple. This is our vehicle in this lifetime. And if we want to respect and honor the great spirit, the divine God, source energy, well, this is the body source energy has created for us in this lifetime. Isn't a wonderful sign of respect and love for source to show respect and kindness towards this vehicle and treat it accordingly, treat it like a temple? That's a beautiful thing, you know. Look after the well-being of mind and body. Number 8, dedicate a share of your efforts to the greater good. And what is the greater good? I believe the greater good is not just the current well-being of humanity. The greater good is what is a long-term vision for our families, for the big human family, for the children of our children and the children of their children and the children of their children. 5, 6 generations, maybe 10 generations down, a couple hundred years. What that means is point your vision far ahead into the future and ask yourself, what I'm doing right now, will it benefit these generations, my children's children in the future? Will it be beneficial? And dedicate at least a share. That's a beginning, right? At least a share of your efforts dedicated to the real greater good, to the long-term greater good. We all know that we, as a human family, need to change our ways. We all know that there's so much good that we could do and can do and are doing. And the thing is, if we always look at these few leaders out there that have their own agendas and have their own soups that they're cooking, and we always look at the big things and say, well, I can't do anything about that. I can't change anything about it. Yes, you can. Dedicate a share of your efforts to benefit the greater good, you know? There's simple things to start with. You'll know. It's like when we're so, you know, we're very quick to take great care of our own yards, but then we're someplace else and, you know, we don't feel as strongly about that piece of land. Maybe I can leave a little dirt here. It's not my land. It's all our land. It's all the land of our children. So broaden that horizon. What will my actions bring to the future? Number 9, be truthful and honest at all times. And I would add to that, and sometimes be quiet. Sometimes, you know, we being truthful and honest, sometimes we don't feel like we can do that, but we can always be quiet. If that's not an option, we can be quiet. But be truthful, full of truth and honest. Imagine if we had the abilities right now that we had thousands of years ago where we could read minds. What would we really see, you know? How connected is what we say to what we think, you know? If truth is stored here and lies come out here, you would see it right away. So I think this is a really, really deep process for, you know, we begin with, we lie out, you know, to protect ourselves, to protect others. We use little white lies. We use white lies for our children, our bosses, or whatever. But when does that really benefit anyone in the long run ever? And I've noticed that since I've been holding myself to that standard, being truthful and honest, I say a lot less. I say a lot less because I really want to speak words of kindness out of my heart, truthful words. And if I don't feel like I can do that, I'm rather quiet, but I will not say a lie. I will not say a lie. Be truthful and honest. Number 10, goes full circle. Take full responsibility for your actions. What does that mean? That's really the law of attraction expressed in this law here. Taking full responsibility for our actions, it just means that we become aware that we are the source of these things that we bring about. You know, we truly are the source. If we take responsibility, even for the stuff that we deem to not be so good or deem to be bad or, you know, maybe even harmful, we learn. we don't take responsibility, we don't learn. Well, healing comes from learning, and learning comes from healing. So there's that. And this is something that we can all do. You know, we talk about these highest spiritual principles so often together, but if we don't apply them practically, they mean nothing. They're just words. They're just words. And if we treat all the living beings with less than full respect, then we haven't implemented those highest spiritual principles yet. Then we need to learn more, and we need to take more responsibility for our actions. And we can do that with a loving heart, and we can do that with an open spirit. And I love reading these and really meditating on them. We've just gone through the 10 Native American commandments, and you can look them up and print them out and put them on your fridge or on your phone or wherever, and meditate on them and walk with them. And you will find that a lot of this, you'll find these rules and these eternal principles in different cultures, but you'll rarely find someone who really lives by them. And while I don't, you know, we don't expect anyone to just flip a switch and begin living completely true to these commandments. But what if we began to strive? What if we began to hold ourselves to these higher standards? The world doesn't change on its own. Nature does its thing, but the world is the human construct. It's what we put together as humans: ideas, systems, laws, rules, mandates, all that stuff. That doesn't just change. That is being changed by us. First by consciousness, because consciousness inspires new ideas, and then ideas inspire new actions, and then actions bring about different outcomes, right? So if we begin holding ourselves to higher standards, you know, we begin living up to these beautiful principles, we enter a higher state of consciousness and awareness more often, and soon enough it becomes our nature. And then that's what we bring to the world. And then that's how we influence and change the world. So it all comes always from consciousness, from awareness, and there's just many different ways to get there. Not saying there's one way, but these principles have been around for many moons, and they have been a guidance for many generations. And it's always been our belief, you know, and specifically in this country, specifically here in America, this country will only ever really heal when we will implement these beautiful truths and principles by the real forefathers here. And those were the Indians, you know, and the Native Americans. Those are the ones who really, you know, are the real forefathers and foremothers. And so if it's a coming together of the two worlds, well, this country will really heal, and then it'll have an even greater positive impact on the world, or a real positive impact on the world. So it's going a little farther out than actually intended, but it's a beautiful set of principles. And as I said when we came into this conversation, information, knowledge, everything that's coming through the pipelines every single day, TV, internet, blogs, social media, radio, podcasts, all of that is, for the most part, it's here today, gone tomorrow. It won't be relevant anymore. The news that my grandfather listened to in his younger days are completely irrelevant to me today. And the news that our children's children will listen to will be irrelevant to me now, and what I'm listening to will be irrelevant to them later. But what will always be relevant is this wisdom, our principles. And we need to build our lives on principles, not current information, not whatever is the newest set of crap that's coming from the TV. It's principles. Principles are eternal. They stand the test of time. So these these always stand the test of time. Well, that was my 2 cents for today. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to enjoy going through the comments right after the live stream. Also wanted to thank those of you who've reached out and volunteered to become practice clients for our junior coaches in the Inspired Coaching Academy. We know new connections have already been established. So in short, reach out. What that means is Kristin and I are teaching the Inspired Coaching Academy this year. And there's junior coaches that are in the process of becoming coaches, and they're always looking for practice clients because it's all about practical spirituality, practical, everything needs to be applied in a practical world too. So if you feel like you want to be a practice client, it's free of charge, and you'll get a lot of benefits from these tools and practices.
Maybe if they feel a little stuck or not motivated enough to do something, or just need a little nudge, whatever it is.
Yeah, our coaches are equipped to, help you with that and guide you through beautiful practices, whatever it is that, you feel you need some more of or need help with.
Or less, or whatever it is.
Whatever it is, reach out, send us an email to 365inspiredliving@gmail.com, and we'll forward it to the coaches, and they'll get in touch with you. And it's really easy. Again, it's free of charge. You're always, of course, welcome to, leave a tip or send a contribution to them. But they're practicing, and it's a win-win situation. They get to practice, and you get you get some really wonderful benefits. And we've had beautiful feedback from practice clients that have already experienced some shifts. So there you go. That said, Inspired Tribe, thank you for spending this time with us, for investing in the Inspired Tribe energy here, for being here, for commenting, for bringing in your spirit, your joy, your love. And this is it from us for this week. We'll be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Central, right here. And as always, if you feel a nudge, if you have what we actually wanted to start, and we'll just ask you if that's something you're interested in. We wanted to do maybe a bi-weekly or once a month, I don't know, like a Q&A where Kristin and I basically do a live stream here together, sit here, and answer questions that you guys might have. If you're interested, then we'll schedule a specific Q&A live stream maybe every other week or maybe once a month. Just let us know if that's something you'd be interested in, and we'll really go over the questions that you guys might bring with you in the live chat. That's it, Tribe. We love you. Thank you so much. We'll see you again on Monday, 2 p.m. Central, and I'm sure there'll be another expansive journey we'll go on. We love you all. And have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.